What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Relationship Cheat Code, where we give you the game, helping you to stress less and experience your absolute best in your relationship. This right here is my beautiful, my baby, my Pookie Pie, my incredible, my amazing wife, Fiona.
And this right here is my dapper, debonair boo baby, my sweetheart, Ayize.
What's up, good people? So we coming to y'all today for another episode, and I'm excited about what we're going to be talking about today. How you feeling, though? First, let me ask you that question, and please don't say tired. That's like what you always say in every single episode. I'm tired.
Oh my
you
gosh.
always tired.
I was literally about to say that. That's just a given. I'm tired. Other than that, I'm maintaining.
Okay. What's interesting is that your recently my wife had an experience where she was challenged to look at herself in a different way.
I was?
Yeah, you were. You said you had to get your life because your mom was doing some crunches on the floor on the bicycle.
Yes.
What you say? Your mom has actually used a bike.
I said, you been here for a couple of days. You done used our bike more than I used it the whole time we had it just about. My mother is like, my mother is 74 years old and she is out here with a personal trainer doing push-ups, just dropping and stopping and dropping in the middle of the family
she was doing
room.
push-ups?
Oh, I'm sorry, not push-ups, sit-ups. Doing sit-ups, riding the bike, lunges, all that. I'm like, wow, yeah.
Lunges too?
I'm just like, I got to get it together.
Yes, I would agree. I would agree. I'm not going to let my
I'm
mom.
not really sure why you felt the need to bring that up.
I'm just saying, I'm not going to let my mom.
Why'd you feel the need to bring that up?
Specifically in the area of physical fitness. So I just lifted that up, baby, because you lifted up that you were tired. And I think that the more
it is say you can get more energy when you work out.
Yeah,
more.
and when you exercise more. So you could take a page out of your mom's book and do some lunges.
Yeah, I'm still gonna be tired.
Do some sit-ups.
I'm still gonna be tired.
Ride the bike.
Okay, my mother of 5 out here making magic every day happen in my life. So I'm gonna be tired regardless. But
Yeah,
you're still right.
I'm right.
You're still right, even though you petty and you press to try to call me out. For no reason.
All right, but check this out though, y'all. So my wife, she didn't ask me the question, but I'm gonna go ahead and lift this up, and I'm gonna get into it a little bit later during the podcast. But I feel seen.
Why you had to start it with my wife didn't ask me the question, but I'm going to go ahead and say, why don't you just say what you need to say? Why do you do that? Like, she didn't ask me the question, but I don't have to ask you the question.
You don't have to ask me the question, but I'm just lifting
that up.
But you really
want to, if you say how you doing, and I understand you then ask me how I'm doing.
Yeah, I do.
It's like
is that something wrong, y'all?
You engage in order to be engaged.
I don't engage
you seek out what's going on with me so that I can come and seek out what's going on with you.
I don't engage
because you've done that multiple times.
I'm just saying the natural, courteous thing to do.
And it's not that I don't, but when I don't, it's not that I don't, but when I don't, you say, well, being as though you asked me, like Negro.
I didn't say as though. I just said
you said my wife.
My wife didn't ask.
It's another version of the same thing.
It's not because there's no energy behind it. So being as though means that I'm actually expecting you to.
What's the point of saying there's some kind of energy? Because what's the point of saying that?
No, I'm just lifting it up because that's my introduction into my point. You got a problem with the introduction?
That my wife didn't ask me, but I'm going to go ahead and say.
It wasn't even like that. The energy wasn't even like that.
I don't have any energy. There's nothing other than the words, my wife didn't ask me, but I'm going to say, what I'm saying is, do I need to ask you how you're doing in order for you to share how you're doing?
No, but I would like for you to.
So
it's
that's
a nice
just a desire that you have.
It's a nice setup.
But if it doesn't happen, do you not know how to express yourself without me asking you?
I can express myself without you asking.
Do you know how to express it without saying that Iana didn't ask me, but I'm gonna go ahead and say, You know how to do that? What
you're saying is that it's kind of passive aggressive for me.
Oh, it's not kinda. We're always teaching when we're processing. It is passive. He don't even know. I believe that I use that. It's like, I don't even know. What's the big deal? You ain't even catch it. You don't even know. But you just be doing that. You ain't even know. How about this?
You just ask me and we got to deal with this.
How about you just say what you need to say? I ain't got to ask you 100% of the time.
All right. God, so let me rewind now.
Jeezy, we ain't even started.
So I'm feeling seen. I'm feeling exposed in some respects, and we're gonna hop into that. A little bit later on.
Seen and exposed?
Yeah, I'm gonna get into it a little bit later on. Just why I feel seen and why I feel exposed. But I want to really talk about just this whole piece around, what is really required for you to level up in your life and level up in your relationship, and how a number of folks have a hard time really getting to a heightened level of connection and intimacy and understanding in their relationship because they're just stuck. They're just stuck in the day to day, stuck in the way they're used to doing things and stuck in a routine and just stuck with just all of the ish that they experience in life. And it's a lot, y'all. So I just want to normalize the fact that my wife said we're parents of 5. And so we have a lot going on. We do. We have a lot going on. And it's easy to be bogged down by that stuff. And so sometimes people see those things as a reason why they have to connect in more. And other people see those things as a reason why they can't. And I'm just curious to know, like for you, I've noticed that there's been a heightened level of intentionality around connecting in with family and not allowing all of the ish to get in the way, even some of the ways in which I show up, the foolishness that I might bring, and the energy that I might bring to the table. Like you are intentionally like trying to sift through that and prioritize connecting. And so I'm just curious to know, like,
why are you saying that? I mean, what are you talking about?
It could be a myriad of things, and so let me just give you an example here. So, and I'm not going to use myself right now. Like I said, I'm gonna get into me in a little bit, but the other day we were watching a YouTube video, and there was this back and forth that was going on between two dudes, and it was on stage. It was at a public forum where it was a panel that was taking place, and the panel consisted of all men.
Oh,
and so,
Lord, that craziness.
And so we were watching this. I believe it was a Fresh and Fit event, but we were watching this, and I actually saw it first, and then I shared it with my wife.
Is that the podcast? Is it a podcast?
I don't know if it's a podcast.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, but we were watching it, and this dude, angry muscular dude, I'm gonna call him. He basically took the event.
You don't want to say his name? Yeah, you're doing that on purpose.
I don't want to say his name. But he took the event by storm, and he was basically attacking everybody based off of values that they had other than his. And so he was really going in. And so I'm lifting that up because one person is representing family values and the importance of prioritizing family, and what he represented was the importance of being ripped, being rich, and being rare. And so I get it as a man, how all of this stuff can be attractive, but to denounce and to speak against, to go on, to challenge, or to devalue family values it's something different, y'all. It's something that I don't rock with. And so men who move in that way, to me, are really grappling with some serious insecurities and really can't honor a man who values, I want to put my family first. And so I'm lifting that piece up because when I ask you, baby, about, like, lately I've noticed that you've been placing a lot of emphasis on connecting, family time, finding ways to ensure that everybody is having their piece and everybody is being paid attention to, because we're dealing with the busyness of life. And so I'm just wondering for you, like, why the shift? Why is that important?
I don't really know what you're talking about. That's why I asked you for what do you mean? Because I really honestly don't know. What am I doing? It's different, or there's a shift. I don't really know what you're talking about.
So one way you're doing that is by cooking.
I always cook.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's kind of provocative, but
you said why the shift? No, you're cooking. No. I'm like, don't I always cook?
No, you always cook, but there's a different energy that's attached to it. Like, I get the sense that there's more meaning behind it. Not that you don't always do it, but that maybe even for you, there's a certain level of gratification that you're getting in the experience. And it might even be that that's a way in which you're using to manage your stress and to minimize whatever internal anxiety or tensions that you might be experiencing. And so I'm interpreting it as this is about family and making sure everybody is squared away and taken care of and having that family time. But what you might be, I don't know, but what you might be doing is like, this is grounding for me. This is grounding for me, and I know it's important for y'all and for the family for us to be able to come together and have meals and for you to like be pleased by the food that you're eating and I prepared it. But I just sense a difference. I sense a difference in that. I sense a difference in the way you're approaching even picking people up from work and not that you haven't always been a certain way, but it's just an overemphasis on being punctual and being on time and you're also very hypersensitive to other people's emotions outside of me. And it's just like, yo, like I'm just noticing like a family focus here. That was a slight jab. But there's a family focus here, which is good and which I appreciate, but like why? Why the emphasis now? And I don't even know how I'm tying that into the angry muscular dude.
Yeah.
But to bring it full circle, family is important. And so while he wasn't able to see that and recognize that and feel the value in that, what I'm noticing is that the other guy on stage did. And I do as well, but I'm also noticing a different shift in you. Not that family hasn't been
I
important.
know. I'm kind of feeling like you're saying like, yeah, you're finding family important now, and like I'm shifting into that like I didn't before. So I'm not really. Yeah, I'm not really. I don't know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, I know what you're talking about in terms of just how I be, but
So
I feel like
feel different?
I feel like I'll always have been like that.
You don't feel different?
No.
You don't feel like you're showing up different?
No, I don't. Like you said cooking. I cook. I've always cooked.
Mm-hmm.
You said like being attentive to other people. You're talking about these kids and their feelings and their needs and attending to them. I mean, that's what I'm assuming you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You need to push that one more. Like all of that. Haven't I always been like that?
It just feels different right now.
I mean, it may feel different because, you know, every year this time, starting last year, and it will happen. It just happened this year, and it'll happen again next year. There's a transition happening in our household with another young person graduating from high school, and you know that changes the energy in the household, even as it's approaching. You know, like for those who are out there who are parents of young people who are making transitions, whether from high school, college, whatever, they're leaving your house. Like all of that creates different energy. So I'm aware of that. I'm attuned to that. And maybe my energy is different in that way, I guess. But I don't feel like I'm doing a whole lot different other than showing up for all the things we got to show up for in this time of year and trying to make sure that everybody can get a little peace. Because it's a lot when you have a lot of children, you have a big family, making sure that everybody gets a little piece, and gets not just a little piece, but the piece that they should get, just period. You know what I'm saying? Like gets enough of me, gets enough of you, gets enough focus, compassion, empathy, flexibility, love, time, understanding, all of those things. So I think it's even more important during these times. But again, I mean, not that I'm perfect with it, but I feel like that's just kind of like, that's a normal thing. So,
but it is different though, and you did speak to the transition, and I think that what it elevates is the fact that you're embracing the transition, and what the transition requires is a different level of attentiveness, attunement, and presence with what's happening during this phase of our lives. And so last year during this time, this year during this time, and even next year during this time of the year, we'll be in a similar space. And I can imagine the next year will probably be crazy.
Why you say next year gonna be crazy?
Because it's the last of the three middle. And
we have a 22-year-old, guys, and then we have a 19-year-old, an 18-year-old, a 16 going on 17-year-old in a couple of months, and then a 8-year-old. So all of our stair steps in between that 22-year-old and that 8-year-old are graduating one after the other. They literally are, you know, one graduated last year, one's just graduated a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And then next year, the next one will be, so that's just a lot. It's a lot.
And then we get a 1 year break.
Yes.
And then we do it all over again for college.
Right. Then we start the college graduations. That's right.
Yeah. So, I do think that during this time of the year, your level of attentiveness and attunement to just where the family is elevated. It's heightened. And,
I agree.
And you're being more keenly aware of like, how are people feeling? And I do think that you always are. I just feel that during this time, it's like, cherish the moments, cherish the day, and really be present with how you feel, and make space for folks. And so, you've been doing that. You've been doing that, and you've been challenging me to do that. But it becomes difficult when you have a whole bunch of other stuff going on, in terms of just trying to manage life, manage the business, manage health, manage whatever it may be. Like it's
the household.
Yeah. It's all encompassing. And so I know a lot of you all out there can relate to just the day-to-day struggles of what it feels like and what it means to be an entrepreneur, but not just be an entrepreneur, but just manage a household, because it is a micro or a business that you got going on inside of your house. And so it's nothing to take lightly in terms of just how you managing your household situation. And so I do think that, with all of that being said, the management is one piece, but the emotional awareness, the emotional intelligence, and the emotional availability during that time period is critical. It's critical. And so what I've seen is that in our experience, you've been pressing for that. And in some situations, I've been less apt to be present and available in that way. And so going back to my original point, when I spoke about how I feel seen and I feel exposed. Before we decided to do this podcast episode, my wife, she played a video.
I didn't even know that was going to be on that video, though.
Yeah, you didn't. So it's like God.
I just was going through old videos and this came up.
It's like God divinely orchestrated a moment.
This earring is really bothering me. Okay, go ahead.
So in this video, and we may even play it here, but in this video, what was lifted up, it was actually recorded back in 2016. I believe March 23rd, 2016. And in this video, I was speaking about brokenness, the brokenness in men. And I shared specifically about my own individual brokenness. And what I was talking about was the fact that there's this tendency that I have to show up in a certain way where I'm hyper-focused on the small things. I'm always paying attention to what is out of order and not really celebrating and appreciating what is what is in order. I'm maybe even hypercritical about certain things, and I notice the stuff that is the chaos. I notice the stuff that is out of alignment, or at least what I consider to be out of alignment. And I'm not praising and really applauding and making room. Like, I expect things to be perfect. And so this was done in 2016, y'all. But lo and behold, prior to us watching this video, and again, my wife did not know before she hit play what was going to be on the video, even though we recorded it, what is it, 7, 8 years ago?
8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so probably about 30 minutes prior to hitting play on this video and watching it, we were having a conversation about the exact same thing. The exact same thing. And I just had to pause for a second, because in this video that I'm watching or listening to, I'm hearing myself take ownership of the ways in which, I'm broken and I need to be fixed. I need to focus on self and focus on personal growth. And yet 8 years later, I'm talking about the same thing. And so I got to ask myself, y'all, in all transparency, and I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna reflect on this. Like, what work has been done as it pertains to this area right here? How have I grown? One of the things that we ask people is if there's been any indication of growth or any semblance of growth in your life, any progress, any productivity, the follow-up question is as evidenced by what? And so I'm challenging myself to really sit with that question. If I feel like I have grown, even though we just had the conversation, it doesn't mean that we won't have the conversation. But even if we've had the conversation, if I feel like I have grown, as evidenced by what? As evidenced by what? And so that right there, when I say seen and exposed, what I'm speaking about is like, wow. So 8 years ago, I was talking about like this being a thing for me, and today, literally today, we had a conversation about the same thing. The same thing. And so, am I stuck? Am I stuck? Have I made progress?
What's your answer for that?
Is there growth? I gotta sit with it. Like I mean, I want to say that I've grown, and I don't believe that I'm stuck. But for us to even be having this conversation, it's making me wonder. Like, am I? That's one of the beautiful things about video. You can always go back and watch the tape. And again, this was not deliberate, but to be able to see myself and hear myself 8 years ago.
I mean, the comments in the video, the things that you were saying is like, so when we had the conversation like 30 minutes, 45 minutes ago, whatever, before we started the podcast, it was me saying the things to you that then you were saying in the video, which I just thought was so interesting.
Say some more.
I mean, just I was saying like, and I think I said like, I just know this is how you're built, and it just gets tiresome. Like it kind of just, it's tedious having these conversations with you over and over again. And, are you looking for perfection? I mean, in the video you said, sometimes I'm looking for perfection. You know what I mean? It was just amazing to me how that came up like that. And I do think that was, God. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't have anything else to say about it.
You got more to say. Got more to say. So I said I couldn't answer the question, but I give you permission to answer the question.
What question? About?
Am I still in the same space? Hey, what's up, y'all? So we know you're enjoying the episode, but check this out, y'all. We're not just any old random couple that's coming on YouTube every week just giving relationship suggestions and stuff like that. We're way more than that, y'all. Mm-hmm. We're trained therapists and relationship coaches. Yeah. This right here is my beautiful, incredible, sensational wife, Iana.
And this right here is my dapper, debonair husband, Ayize. So y'all, we just want you to know that there is more. We don't want you to just be a spectator. We want you to get in here with us and join our community. We have all kind of folks who are doing their personal work, their relationship work. We have sister circles and men's lounges and trainings, and we address all kinds of things from infidelity to disconnection to communication issues and sex and intimacy issues. Look, the solution is at blandcore.com. Join us. What is the space? Let's define the space again. What is the space? One where you're looking for what's not working.
Looking for perfection.
Not giving praise.
Not giving praise.
Seeing the progress.
Mm-hmm. Always being problem focused.
And being controlling. Trying to control certain things in the environment to make yourself, I guess, feel better with whatever you're dealing with that's bothering you. Mm-hmm. So if I put you on a scale of like grading you, I would say early on in our relationship, I gave you an F.
Oh, wow.
That's early on. I mean, it was like, that's just who you are. And then we started talking about this stuff over and over again. I was sharing with you how I've experienced you. or how like you're being or whatever, or impacting me. And then I would say today, so that was early on. That would like you were just doing what you do. So that would be an F. And then today I would say, some days, let me think about this. I think some days, I think you fluctuate. I think you should still fluctuate. So some days you're between a B, you're at a B. And the reason I say, and then you fluctuate. Sometimes you're at a C, sometimes you're at a D. You went from a B to a D. You still be getting D's, you still be getting C's, and sometimes you get B's. And I know that feels like you ain't even giving. I'm not even giving you a grade. I'm just giving you all the grades. But I feel like the B's. I feel like you tell me that you actually are like sometimes you'll share with me. I'm trying. Like I was making an effort not to say anything, and you don't know what I didn't say and what I haven't spoken to, right? And so I wouldn't know that stuff unless you tell me. So you tell me that. So I'm like, okay, well, in those days where maybe you are walking around feeling some type of way and you're not sharing it because you're just like, bruh, like just fall back and relax or something like that to yourself, then I would say that's probably a B. I think an A is to actually work on the issue on the inside. Like what is it that compels you emotionally like that way? Why, what is that rote habit? And like what you said in the video from before, you said that when you were younger, it's not that your parents didn't give you any praise, but there wasn't a whole lot of wiggle room for you to not be together and like have things together and be on point. And so I think sometimes when you have those insights, I don't know that you really ever sit with them and how they've shaped you as a person, and then how it shapes your way of being with me, with other people. I mean, particularly just with your family. I don't think you're like that with other people outside of us. I don't know that you go deeper. I think you kind of have gotten that insight over the years, but you haven't. I don't know that you've really sat with it, because I'm like, why would you still be getting D's? So sometimes I think you're, but let me be. So anyway, I'm kind of doing a lot. I'm talking a lot on this. The bottom line though is the reason I can also give you a B, and I see at times is because I feel like we've been in conversation about this for a long time. So there's levels. So if we weren't even in conversation because you weren't willing to have discussion, you weren't willing to talk about it with me, like this way that you be, and you were just shutting it down and being like whatever, and no, it's not, that's not true, whatever. Like it's something that we have commonly talked about. You're very self aware. Sometimes you're like, no, that's not what I'm doing. I'm like, yes, you are, but it's not a thing that we don't both know about. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that in and of itself speaks to progress. And then, other times I feel like I felt earlier today where I'm just like, ugh, like when you came over, I was like, so what about, and you were like bringing up something. I'm like, oh God, he's about to like bring this, you're about to be talking to me again about something that you're trying to like manage or control or that's bothering you. And it's just like, I wish you could just kind of work on this a little more so that it's not as much of an issue. So, and it feels, it just sometimes can just get annoying. More than annoying, it just gets tiresome. So it's a mixed bag, I guess.
So you say that it's a mixed bag, and I respect, and I also appreciate what you just lifted up, and you giving me a B to a D grade. The thing that I want to ask you is really, what would it look like to get an A?
What would it look like to get an A?
And getting an A, am I going to have to sacrifice me in that process? Like sacrifice my desires? Is it, a part of me feels like me getting an A is I gotta bend over to get an A.
Bend over.
Yeah.
Are you gonna get? What you trying to say?
I mean, just what I'm saying.
What's that mean?
I mean, you got to have it your way.
I have to have it my way.
And they have to have it their way. Everybody has to have it their way in order for me to get an A.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just curious to know, what does an A look like? And so the competitive part of me is saying, like, I want to get an A,
Mm-hmm.
but how much will I have to sacrifice in order to get an A? And do I lose self-respect in that process? And am I okay with settling for a B, a C, or maybe even a D? Because I think that depending upon what the situation is, like, my assertions aren't over the top, and my position isn't in left field. I just want to know what an A looks like, and how are you expecting me to be?
Okay, so to, I mean, I guess make this more concrete for folks who are watching and listening, I think it's important to just kind of reinforce like what the issue is. And so and you can like correct me if you think I'm saying something that's wrong or that's not representing you correctly or whatever. But it's really depending on, it's not 100% of the time, it's not all the time, but depending on what we're dealing with, it's really like
you feel like I got a problem with everything.
It's like a controlling spirit. It's like wanting things to be a certain way. So, I think that when we look at the examples that I'm going to give, and I said this to you earlier, like people will resonate and identify with you and be like, oh yeah, right. But it's like when you're operating in that place and it feels, or you're coming across as though you're looking for all of the ducks to line up in a row, and you're looking for perfection. I asked you that earlier. Are you looking for perfection? Right. So if we just use the example of I mean, we've talked about this stuff in the past, like just the household and, the kitchen or the family room or whatever stuff is here or there, whatever,
See, most people will probably align and resonate with,
Yes,
with me.
right. Those kinds of things, most people like people should pick up after themselves. You should clean up after yourself, blah, blah, blah.
We have 5 adults in the house.
Mm-hmm. Say it again.
Yeah, 5 adults in the house.
Mm-hmm. So now he's really, I just want to note that my husband has never been so anxious. I mean, not anxious, so pressed to call some of the children adults until now. Any other time you would not be pressed to say they're adults, right? You'd be like, you in my house and you need to do whatever. You still a kid for real. I'm the daddy. But now he want to say they're adults to basically bring home how he feels about certain things. So, but to your point,
they baby adults,
to your point, so it's like, it's about your space. It's about your environment. Some of us are more particular than others. You're a more particular person. And I know that there are people who resonate with that. I always say to Aize, I say, it's not that I disagree with you fundamentally on pretty much anything when you're talking about, okay, we're gonna be doing our podcast. We need the space to be a certain way. Our son is going to be in the space for a period of time. And so you're like, he needs to be out of there 48 hours ahead of time. And I'm like, dude, like he needs space. You're not considering him, right? Because you're trying to figure out how you can manage and kind of control things, like 48 hours, just be out and don't even be in here. And that's impacting him. And
so
we're not giving you all the details. Right. Yeah. Right. But not the ideal space that he needs. And it's like, we only need to use the space for 2 hours, on one day out of a week, you know what I'm saying? For the most part. But you're saying be out of the room for 48 hours so that
5 days
so that you can minimize like having to deal with whatever you want to deal with, whatever you don't want to deal with, because you don't want him being in the space messing it up, right? I think the point that I think is probably most important, because I think people are going to get lost in this, and we're going to even get lost in it if I don't just like really get down to the underlying issue. It is the way you come across. It is your approach. It's not what you do as much as what you don't do. It's not what you say as much as what you don't say. It's what you said in the video that we heard earlier. It's like not looking for the places you can say thank you or praise or give kudos to others in this family about certain things. But you do look for the things that are not working well. You do kind of have a sense of like, this is what needs to happen, and you've let progress go over your head because you're looking for perfection. You won't say that. I don't know that you think that. As a matter of fact, that's not true, because earlier when we were talking, I said, are you looking for perfection? You know what I'm saying? You're saying it should be like this and it shouldn't be like that. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. But it's not going to be like that 100% of the time. That's just not real life. Are you looking for perfection 99 point something percent of the time? And you say, yeah.
I said 90% of the time. You said 90% of the time.
You said, yeah. And so I think I think you're off center. I think that's a personal problem. I think that's a personal problem to look for perfection 90% of the time in anything. And the fact that your mind squares up to say, why? That to me connects to what you said in the video that we pulled up earlier, where you said, I wasn't given very much wiggle room. So because you had to show up that way, it's really kind of difficult for you to conceptualize some, especially on areas that seemingly everybody agrees on. People should clean up after themselves, put your dishes away, take the milk out, put the milk back. You know what I'm saying? Like, but kids aren't going to be perfect. And even spouses aren't going to be perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you're not perfect. And yet you're still kind of thinking like, what's wrong with that? Yeah, that's out of pocket. That would be a cognitive distortion. That'd be distorted thinking. And that 90% of the time, and again, we're using these simple examples, but it can be, it can be in terms of, any number of things when it comes to, I was last week, right? Like, so for example, and these are getting to these nuances of how we don't recognize our impact. I said more than anything, it's your approach. It's how you do things. It's what you don't say. It's what you're leaving out. It's not just the things that you're focused on. It's the things that you're not focused on. Those are what makes the way that you show up feel louder and more impactful, because there's some things missing on the other side sometimes. So, our 8-year-old came to me, I guess last week or whatever, and he was saying, because he watches TV, he's on his iPad, as many parents, right? We're like, okay, we want to limit that. Aize is especially focused on that, and so you will just see him. This is just one of many examples, and you just get triggered to say, turn the TV off. You just come in the house, get time to get off the TV, right? And you just put that out there. But you haven't greeted him. You don't know how long he's been on there. You haven't engaged him. And your energy is just one of shut it down. That comes across a certain way. So nobody disagrees that we should be mindful of that, and that he should, even if you're right. Like, I know that when I left here, he was watching TV. When I come back, he's watching TV. So I'm pretty sure he's been on it all this time. It's your approach. You know what I'm saying? It's your approach. So to me, it's that reactivity. And I think sometimes we don't recognize in ourselves that we be I mean, I know I can be like, when you're doing that, that triggers me, and I feel pretty reactive. You know what I'm saying? But I try to manage it. And that's what I'm saying to you, is that, like, I don't even know if you like pause to, like, just see where you are and manage your approach. Pause and ask yourself, am I looking for perfection? In that situation, there's nothing wrong with telling a child to get off. But if you're doing that off the TV and you haven't said hello, how was your day? How are you? Sat down next to him, or just, I even sit down next to him, but just where you at? How you doing, babe? How long you been watching TV? Oh, okay. One of my things is I'm very much about approach. So it doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if I'm about to tell my 8-year-old he got to get off the television, or if I'm going to have a conversation with a staff member and say, I need to give you some feedback. I'm going to give you a heads up. If I'm going to say something to you and tell you something that might be difficult for you to hear, I'm going to give you a heads up. And I think that sometimes you're just cutting to things. You're not mindful of the nuances and the way you approach things. And then the fact that there may be more to what you're feeling in any given moment than meets the eye. You just respond to your feelings about a certain thing. And I just think it was very, very much God saying, like, you weren't given any wiggle room, so you don't give any wiggle room. So what does it look like? What it looks like is your approach. It's not you. We can sit here all day and talk about the value of being on watching the television or not watching the television. That ain't the damn issue.
So what is
The issue is you. It's you learning how to be more flexible. It's you softening your approach. It's you being intentional about being
tired of saying the same thing over and over.
Well, hold on. It's you being intentional about speaking life and saying things that are positive and lifting up things that the kids are doing well, or saying, like, I appreciate this, just like we say when we talk about couples, like, I appreciate this, right? Put some things out there that are validating before you go to saying, like, and this is not good and this is not good. We say this stuff all the time. And to your question that I think you were about to say, what if you're tired of it? Who gives a hell? These are our children. And let me tell you why. No, you don't.
I do.
So if you're talking about with a spouse, that's one thing you should still do, but especially with your kids.
Yes, I do that too.
You're the model. You're the adult.
It's about affirmations. I mean, they have so many accomplishments, so many celebratory opportunities. I definitely shout out our children.
I'm not talking about shout out because you got a good report card. We're talking about day-to-day living and the types of examples that I gave in terms of how you're moving and flowing day-to-day in the interactions in your relationship with your children. Not you get a shout out because you did good in school and you got an A. Yes, you do those things, but we're talking about the day-to-day way that you be. That's what we're talking about. Are we not? You were talking about it. So this is what confuses me. On one hand, you can hear the video and you can hear yourself taking ownership, and you even have enough insight to connect it to your childhood, and then you push back against it and say no. Which one is it?
I mean, it's just that what I have a hard time with is after I've lifted up something once, twice, 20 times, it should be a given. And to me, some of the things that you're expecting to be applauded for, patted on the back for, are basics. Like, they're bare minimums. And so, like, you should clean your room. You should clean up after yourself. You should wipe the counter. You should do some basic stuff. Like, it's not a celebratory moment like, thank you for getting your crumbs up off the counter or sweeping up after you knock something on the floor. Like, what are we talking about here? And so what I'm saying is that, like, this stuff should be, like, this is what you should do. And so, no, I'm not like high-fiving you and doing the cha-cha dance when you make the decision to, like, clean out the microwave. I'm not doing that. Like, it's an expectation.
So let me just say this.
It's the price you pay for being in the family and living here. And then the messed up thing is that, and some of y'all might be able to relate. Do y'all know when your children go over to other people's houses, they be like, y'all got the best behaved and they're so well-mannered. And our children are well-mannered with us as well, too. But they be picking up after themselves and cleaning up after themselves. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, hold up, Joe. I've instilled that in them. And they do it everywhere else. But they ain't going to do it right here.
They do it here. There's that black and white. They do.
I'm just saying.
They just like, don't do it to perfection.
I ain't even looking for perfection.
Oh, you are, because you told me earlier, you said, yes, I am.
90%.
Okay, he looking for perfection 90% of the time. You basically say you're looking for perfection.
I'm not looking for 100. I'm looking for at least 90. And so, but there is places where there needs to be 100.
And the fact that you think that's like a distinction. There are places
where there needs to be 100.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's clear. I mean, there's places for me where I need to be operating at a 100% efficiency. There's places for you where you need to operate at 100% efficiency. And so, like, I can't afford to pick up Allende late from school. That has to be 100%.
Don't you love when you're talking with your spouse, like, and they extrapolate something to try to bring in to make a point that has nothing to do with what you're talking about at the moment in time, but somehow they try to use that as a way to kind of reinforce or strengthen their argument or whatever. All I can say, babe, is that as I'm sitting here listening to you, right, and you're
I want to know how I get an A.
Listen, I already told you, but you ain't really willing.
So you feel like I'm not receiving what you're saying?
Oh, you're not. But let me just say this. I want you to really get this though.
I do feel like I'm pushing back, but I really want to know what an A looks like.
So let me just say this. We say all the time, I say this when we're doing trainings or whatever. I often talk about, and my husband does too, we both do. We talk about how your partner gravitates towards the applause. The applause is praise. We talk about the fact that, you know, all human beings, your spouse included, they want to be high fived. They may not say it. They may not even know they want it. You know what I'm saying? But it's important. And I talk about the fact that we were like introduced to this back in the day when we were attending a basic training for couples boot camp class in DC. And I remember being in the class and I thought to myself, you mean to tell me I need to say thank you and give a round of applause because he take the trash out? That's basic ass shit. I remember thinking that and I remember saying it. And our teacher at that time took the time along with the rest of the class to, you know, create more discussion and to help us see that it's not about a literal round of applause. It's about your energy. It's about your intentionality. It's about you recognizing that, yes, just because I cook every night doesn't mean that I don't want to be thanked and you know, be appreciated for what I do with the cooking. Just because I'm supposed to do this or supposed to do that doesn't. Children are no different. It doesn't matter how baseline of an expectation it is. And I would venture to say that with young people, young adults, teenagers, whatever, little kids, it's even more critical because they're still in the formation stages. They're still learning and they're still growing in ways that we should have already learned and grown. But yet we still need it. And I hear you say that. I hear you say that to people, but then you're like, oh, what I need to do, you need to get a, you know what I'm saying? I need to give you kudos because you know what I'm saying, cleaned your room like you're supposed to clean your room. It doesn't matter. This is why I ask you sometimes, hey, have you noticed that so-and-so, fill in one of our kids' names, has been doing boom, boom, boom? Have you said anything? I ask you that because you sure enough gonna say something when you don't see it. These are things that you need to work on. This is like, that's a basic, that the validation should happen. And you know this, you teach this, but all you're doing is playing out your family dynamic. That's what you're doing. And until you're able to see and accept that that's a family dynamic that needs to be broken up and you need to stop embracing it and reframe and restructure how you roll, you'll still be doing that no matter how old they get. You'll still be doing that. It will just look different. So I'm just saying to you, the issue is not the specific things. I'm not disagreeing with you on those things. It is you know, and some of the stuff is a man thing. You know what I'm saying? Women can be like this too, but some of it is a daddy thing. It's just like it's an old school thing. But, you know, men not being used to sharing emotion, giving praise, giving validation, you know what I'm saying? Checking in with how, you know, how does that child need to be talked to, parented, looked at, listened to, considered? What is their situation? What's happening for them right now in the trajectory of their life in the midst of the family? It's not just about the family. It's not just about our whole dynamic in the household. It's very important, but what's happening with them? Where are they? Intuiting that, asking that, thinking about that, and still having a standard and still holding them accountable. But it's the approach. It's all of that versus just a boom, boom, boom. And I can give a boom, 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 like this is what it is with the best of them. So I'm not saying that I don't roll like that at times. What I'm saying is if you're living in that place most of the time particularly around certain areas, right? Like then the only reason you so stressed and the only reason you so tense and the only reason that you is, you know, just walking around tight, it ain't because of everything. It ain't because of all us. It's you, bruh. It's you. Because no, there's not perfection happening over here. And we also ain't over here, kids, wife, whatever, just not doing nothing that we supposed to be doing. That's just not true. That is a, you know, some type of fabrication of your imagination, and your desire for perfection is freaking tiring. It's exhausting. It is exhausting. And we've just, you know, I mean, 8 years ago, that video, and then 30 minutes ago, now it's been longer than that because we've been on talking for a minute now. Bruh, there's like literally like saying the same thing. I mean, I don't understand how you go back and forth. No, I do, because I am a trained therapist, and you are as well. And what happens is we have to make a decision whether we're going to break up with some of the bad patterns, the bad learnings, or we're not. And you just have not made that decision. That's why I say to you when we're having these conversations, like, I just know you're going to be how you're going to be. Because I know that you have not yet made that decision. You've been in process for a long time, but you haven't, because you, just as quickly as you'll be like, I see myself, you defend it fiercely. It's like you can't separate what you experienced as a young person and what you think is right. It's like you have not gotten to that place where you're able to just call it out and say what's not helpful. You know what I mean? Like, you just can't separate it. You're just not willing to do it. I don't know if you think if you do that, then you're rejecting your parents or something. I feel like you know better than that, because you literally teach and counsel other people to know that there's a distinction. But I think that there's some deeper work there that you're just not willing to do.
It's not that I'm not willing to do it.
I mean, you talk about it.
It's just that I haven't done it.
Baba. It's not that you're not willing to do it. It's just that I haven't done it. What?
There's a difference.
Getting hot over here. There's a difference? Break that one down for me.
There's a difference. I'm not going to break it down.
No, we all need to know. You probably don't even know how to break it down. You're like, that's some bullshit if I ever heard it. You heard that yourself.
Nah, it's
cap. It's just straight foolishness.
No,
it's not that I'm not willing to do it. It's just that I haven't done it.
Yeah. So I can, and many of y'all might be able to relate, but you can verbalize and articulate a desire to create a shift. And that's actually where we started with this podcast, just talking about the resistance to the shift. And so you can articulate, like, I desire to be in a different place. I want to be better. I want to experience more and become my best self. But then you have to make a decision to do that. And so there's a willingness and a desire and a wanting to, but I do agree with you. Like, there hasn't been a decision to, and this episode has helped me. It is. It definitely has. It's helped me see things in a different way. And I just want to say thank you, because what and you utilize some of the principles that we talk about in terms of when we help other couples. And you challenge me with those to really look at myself through that lens. And so even when I think about the 5-to-1 ratio,
tell them what the 5-to-1 is.
I'm not doing that.
I didn't even think about that
with our children. Mm-hmm. So you didn't lift it up, but that's the lens through which I was viewing what it is that you were saying. And so 5-to-1 is for every one negative, you should have at least 5 positives. And so I mentioned earlier in this episode that, I do shout out our children. I do give praise and all of that, but on a daily basis, there's other opportunities in which I'm not doing that. I'm not giving the praise. I'm not giving the acknowledgement. I'm not giving the positive affirmation. And so I'm missing opportunities to build up credit, and positive rapport and good energy and good vibes in their emotional bank account. And so I got to do better in reference to that. And so you helped me to see that. You helped me to see that it's not just about scholarships. It's not just about grades. It's not just about sports, but it's day to day. There's so many opportunities to see the amazing children that they are, because they really are amazing.
They are.
They really are. And so I've just been so focused on the deficit, the shortcomings that I haven't really applauded and praised them. And so thank you, baby, for reminding me of that. Like, I got work to do, and I'm committed to doing that work. And I'm so glad that I have this intensive coming up, because that's going to be a part of it. Just getting better and getting more in touch with emotion and getting more centered so that I can become a better man, become a better husband, become a better father. And so thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know what I did. You really led us into this conversation. So I think you should pat yourself on the back. Because you are willing to have this conversation in front of the world, which isn't something that people do every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I also want to say to you that I give you much respect and love and compassion. Just hearing that video earlier where you were talking about being little, being a young person, and not getting a lot of wiggle room. I mean, it's not even that awareness is not something that you have said frequently. So just hearing that just brings to mind for me, and this is something that everybody can think about. And my husband has said this, I've said this, but I want to say it to you. It's very hard to give what you don't have. It's very hard to show up in a way that you haven't experienced. So if you didn't experience, not because of it, of course, any lack of love and support from your parents, but because they just do what they know how to do. As Black people, we just do what was passed down to us. So whether it's not getting a lot of affection or not getting a lot of praise, or people thinking they loving you, so they whoop you to death. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever it is, these things that get passed down to us, we do it the best that we know how, oftentimes. And so to me, your not being given a lot of wiggle room and maybe not getting as much praise as you could, perhaps even in your day to day, that's what you experienced. That's so it's going to be difficult for you to do that. And I just want to say that, not to say that you can't do it, but just for you to like really like not be in the seat of the therapist and the coach, but for you to be in the seat of looking at yourself and just having compassion for yourself, to be able to know like, damn, like that is how my peeps was, and that is how things were, and I can just break up with that. I don't have to do that anymore. I'm just
not really in touch with that, though. So it's
not in touch with what?
I mean, so I can say that, but I don't really feel that in terms of not getting, because my parents are uber supportive, and they have been. My parents were always there,
for sure.
And so just always.
But the feeling of having to be on point, not being given a lot of wiggle room, and having to be on point, I think there's a whole lot there.
Yeah, academically, and yeah,
like be right here on this spot, like not literally. I feel that. I feel that from just knowing your family, and just kind of, again, no ill will. Just that's just like we got to be on point. We got to keep it together. You need to keep it together. There's not a lot of room for questions, for conversation. Like, this is what it is. And that's how you be. But you can change that.
Yeah, so I gotta do some work. So starting June 1st, I'm having this 30-day King Me intensive that I want to invite the fellas to participate in. I'll drop a link inside of this video if you're interested in signing up. But it's gonna be 30 days of focusing on self. And you get the opportunity to connect in with other brothers. One of the brothers said that he joined because iron sharpens iron. And he wants to be in a community of men that are focused on really becoming better men, better husbands, and better fathers. And so that's what we're going to be focused on for this 30-day period starting June 1st. So again, I'll drop the link in the description. If you're interested, please sign up. Again, we're kicking it off, and we're going to have daily reading, daily sessions, and it'll be daily accountability. And so, I'm looking forward to it. And so some of this right here that we've been talking about is going to be included in that, just doing that personal work and looking at self and seeing ways in which we can stretch and ways in which we can grow, ways in which I can grow. So although I'm facilitating it, I'm sitting right next to you inside of it because there's some things that I need to deny myself of, but also pour into myself so that I can become a better man, a better husband, and a better father. So, thank you, baby.
Mm-hmm. Well, y'all, this has been another episode of the Relationship Cheat Code. Say,
I'm not saying that.
Oh, okay.
I felt like I was on a hot seat. I put myself on a hot seat.
Huh?
So I felt like I put myself on a hot seat.
You put yourself on it. I ain't do it. You put yourself on it.
But it's all good. That's what we need.
It's
good, and it's a way of accountability, and so I'm not afraid to share my flaws and my faults and the areas in which I need to grow. It's how we get better. It really is.
And you are an amazing husband and an amazing father in the midst of all the stuff.
You gave me a D though. So.
Just know that. Not only being a father or a husband overall, just in these particular ways. Lord have mercy. Y'all, this has been another episode of the Relationship Cheat Code. We appreciate you watching. Subscribe, share, send your questions if you have questions for us. If you want to come on the show, let us know. All the links are below. Peace.